This is the All-Star Networking Show with your host, Cathy Paper.
Welcome to the All-Star Networking Show. Joining me today is Amani Roberts. I am so excited to get to know you. In fact, I should have pushed record sooner, Amani, because we already got to know each other just a little bit, and you're coming in from Las Vegas. And I'd love you to just introduce yourself to the listeners, and looking forward to chatting today about networking.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me, Cathy. It's an honor, and I can't wait to kind of share some of my best practices and learn from you. But like you said, my name is Amani Roberts, based in Las Vegas. I'm a professional speaker, a professional DJ, author, and professor. That is what I do. And I'm originally from the Washington, D.C. area. I grew up working in hotels, worked for Marriott International for almost 20 years. So I've lived all across the United States. And, you know, on a personal level, I love pancakes. I love to read. I follow my Washington, D.C. sports teams. And yeah, that's a pretty good synopsis of who I am.
Okay, that is awesome. And I like you got the Washington. You had a little bit in there. So you've been to all these states. So is there a state, let's just talk about the pancakes first and foremost. Is there a state that makes like better pancakes? Is it a thing to have different pancakes by different states?
Generally speaking, in the South, they make good pancakes. However, one of my favorite places to eat them is Uncle Bill's Pancake House in Manhattan Beach, California, where I used to live. So I think they're at the top spot for me currently.
Okay. So it's not like, you know, like we have crepes that are French and those are thinner. Are pancakes the same size all around the country? I've never really thought about pancakes so much, but.
Pretty much, unless you get silver dollar pancakes, those are little tiny ones. Otherwise, you can get some really nice, fluffy pancakes pretty much wherever you are.
Excellent. Well, I, of course, wish that we could put a song to our conversation around networking. And I'm curious, I guess I'm going to start there with these things combining do you combine networking and your DJ work and being a professor? Do they all intersect, or are they separate? Do you use music like in the classroom?
Okay, so they all intersect. I do use music in the classroom. We have some fun. I teach primarily like music business and entertainment operations. Those are my two main subjects. But I'll always use music in the classroom, particularly with the music business class and entertainment operations class, whether it be the students and I will create a playlist. That'll be like our theme for the semester. Sometimes I'll ask the students for their walk-up song. I'll ask them what's hot, what are they listening to? So music is always in the classroom with me in one way or another. And I think it's just a great way to kind of lower some barriers, kind of lower the walls and get to know people on a more personal level.
Oh, I love that. The walk-up song. That's gonna be the thing. You know, I have some opening music at the podcast and people have said it's uplifting, but I'm gonna think about what is my walk-up song.
Yes. I recommend that. Like if you were going, say you're going to the Twins, I'm not sure the name of the Twins stadium, but you're going to
at Target Field.
Target Field, yes. And you know, they're announcing Cathy Paper's coming up to bat. What song is playing as you walk up to bat? That's the good way to think about it.
Well, I've always been a big fan of Bachman Turner Overdrive and the Taking Care of Business.
Okay.
You know, it's got a good beat. But that's what pops into my mind right there. I also just did there was a DJ at a yoga event that I did, and really an interesting way to, in the middle of your yoga practice, it was World Yoga Day. All of a sudden the music comes on and it was that song, Timber, where I'm going down Timber. And then swing your partner around and around. I don't know who sings the song.
Kesha sings that song. Yes.
Oh, it's Kesha. Okay, I like her. We won free tickets for my daughter for Kesha, so that's why I know all her music now. Anyway, so that's interesting. Yeah. And the playlist, do the kids like the playlist? Like making that?
Yeah, they'll put the songs they like. That is, I'm trying to think of the artist. There's a Lafay, I think is how to pronounce her name. I discover new artists through my students. And I tell them, I say, you know what, just because I'm your professor, I'm learning as much from you as you all are learning from me. And that's a good example because it's this phenomenal Asian artist. and she can sing in like a jazzy blues style. I think it's Laufey. That's how to spell her name, I believe. And she's phenomenal. And I discovered her through the students because they all loved her. I'm like, who is this? I never heard of her before. So they participate. We set it up at the beginning of the semester. And I do have to make sure that throughout the semester we continue to add more to it because we kind of got distracted. But
Right.
it's a great activity and I love it.
Okay, I really love the playlist. There was that movie High Fidelity. You seen that?
With John Cusack, I believe, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Hmm.
Yep. Yep. And he, tracked his life through his albums, and anybody listening that doesn't know what albums are, although now albums are making a comeback. I
Yes.
love that. My kids call them, what are those big CDs?
Oh dear. Oh dear. Yes. They're records. They're
Anyway,
yes,
I'm
yes.
dating myself, but
Vinyl.
yeah. But so how did you get into either DJing or being a professional speaker? You pick which one.
So DJing, when I was growing up in college at Howard University in DC, I saw DJ Bismarcky at a club once and I was like, ooh, I want to do what he does. But at first I didn't think it was a legitimate career. So I continued to work for Marriott for many, many years. In every city I lived in, whether it was like Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, Miami, Los Angeles, DC, and now Vegas, I would go and look at DJs there and see what they were doing. And eventually when I got to LA, I decided to go to DJ school. So I was working full time. I went to DJ school, Scratch Academy, and I had previously started my own DJ business. This helped me to really level up with my skills. And then I just kind of took it from there, continued to build, grow my business, and go from there. And then speaking, which is a good story, is that in order
Well, wait a sec. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think the whole I'm gonna pause and slow it down because I think the whole taking what you did in college and seeing somebody that was doing it and then pursuing it, while you were working at the same time, like that's awesome. And then going to get more school and doing it. And clearly, you're really successful at it. So like, I'm not going to just pass over that career path.
yes, yes,
Because that's, honestly, Amani, that's why you're an all-star, is because I think you saw other people that were like, hey, they're doing what they love. And again, to me, the DJ, like I did go up to the DJ, turns out he's Omar. He's a fitness instructor at Lifetime. And I just knew him as, oh, he's the fitness instructor. When I walk in at 6 a.m, I haven't been to his class yet, but I would always see him. And I'm like, oh, I got to go to his class. I like to mix it up. And anyway, I didn't know this. And then I walk into this big room and he's there. And I was like, wait, you're a DJ? Like, to me, a DJ is like, you're like, that's the coolest thing. So sorry to get excited there, but I'm like, I just think that you went back to school and then have made it a career and a passion.
Yeah.
How did you find your engagements? Like in college, you probably did it for the parties, around, or how did you get that business going?
Yeah. Yeah. So when I started to DJ, I met other DJs and I would kind of go and open up for them. So say if there's a DJ playing in a club from like 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., every once in a while they might need an opener, someone to just kind of warm up the crowd from 10 p.m. to 11. So I did that. I also joined Meeting Professionals International, and I joined the Southern California chapter. And that is where I was able to meet other event professionals who could hire me, network with other people to build relationships with other singers, venues, things like that.
Yeah.
Then I joined the board. So once I joined the board, for our meetings, I would DJ the meetings. So there'd be walk-up music for just how I was talking to you about your walk-up music exercise. There'd be walk-up music for every speaker that came on. And that was around the time when I started to speak, professionally, because I also had knowledge about social media. So I would speak in breakouts for the chapter. Eventually, I got to be so kind of highly recommended that they recommended me to speak for Global, so MPI National, which is a massive organization, one of the leading meeting and events trade associations in the world. And so then when I was speaking for National, I was also DJing and I was also spreading the word about my company. And then it kind of grew from there. So that's kind of a quick story about just how I was able to get opportunities, networking, following up, joining other associations, organizations like BNI. I think it stands for Business Networking International, is where I would
Yeah.
attend every week. And so, I really just started from the ground and started to build and network and go from there.
Yeah, yeah. Again, that's why I'm gonna just say that anybody that's listening, rewind, rewind a little bit, put on some background music. That's what do we have like thinking background music maybe? And what you just described is so great because you said not only did you join the Meeting Planners International, the local chapter, right, which is a great organization, to find other people, but you got involved so that there's the give and take of, yes, I'm here to grow my business and my network, but being involved in being of service there and look at how it's magnified. And of course, as I say, you can't be an all-star if you can't hit the ball or, whatever our sports analogy is going to be.
Yes.
Um, so that's really, again, people rewind because I go, that was an all-star textbook explanation. And then what you said next of how it translates into your speaking. So let's talk about your speaking right now of as you've networked, or what do you like to speak on? What is your gift that you share with people?
So my main topic is how to unlock your creativity through the use of music and nostalgia. So you can see everything I do is pretty much on the foundation of music. And I have a couple different frameworks that we go through. And it just really helps people, particularly people in the hospitality industry who are kind of stuck. They've tried to get that, whether it be a general manager job, director of marketing job, C-suite job, whether it be chief sales officer, senior VP, but they're stuck and they just don't know how to stand out. So I help them kind of use their creativity, unlock their creativity through using music so that they can stand out in the interview process before, during, and after, and just really help them get to the next level of their career. And then once they do get the job, how to keep that line going and continue to grow and excel in their current job once they've acquired that. So that's my main topic there. I also speak about kind of networking in this current day and age, which is very, very different than how it was when we were growing up. And then I speak about people putting the words on paper and writing a book. I think that in the industry, particularly the hospitality industry, we need more books written by people who are working in the industry because a lot of the textbooks are kind of older, out of date, and things have changed so much that we need more up-to-date textbooks that we can use and really books we can use in class to show our younger generation just what's possible, how to get through some of the ups and downs, and just how to really, really excel in their jobs.
Okay, there's a lot of great content in there. Again, I'm taking that big deep breath and going, okay, well, this is why you're doing awesome is the creativity through music. Most people, I kind of just want to ask the question of do most people have music that they're drawn to right away, or is that a hard exercise for people to?
I would say it's not that hard. Like I'll ask you, we can kind of take you through some of it. Like when you think about, there's a couple exercises.
Oh, no. Wait a minute though, because I'm terrible. You could take me through it, but I know every song and I do what they call the mom hum, where I hum along with the songs.
Yes.
So I know my songs, but I couldn't tell you what they are.
Okay.
But okay, I'll play along.
I'll ask you a question and then I'll kind of explain and I'll give you a minute to think about it. But one of the exercises I take people through is what was the best year of your life so far? So you think about it, what was the best year of your life so far? And for me, I have a couple. I'll use maybe 1996. That was right when I was about to graduate from college. And I'll say, okay, what was maybe one of the most popular songs that you remember during one of the best years of your life? And so now we're tapping into the nostalgia part. And so for me, one of the most popular songs would be Shoop by Whitney Houston. The movie Waiting to Exhale was out, and that was a massive song. And so then I say, okay, well, let's go back to when that song was out. What were some of the fun things that you used to do? What were your hobbies? What were your goals back then? And we'll make a list and we'll kind of talk about it. And then I'll say, okay, well, how did you pursue your goals? And what did you do to maintain your hobbies? Because what the goal is, we're trying to tap into the feelings you had when you were at that age And more often than not, they took more risks because as you get older, you take less risks. And that's really the crux of it. We want to get you back to a mindset of when you were taking more risks in life. And we use music to really transport you through a time machine back into back to that era where you were taking more risks. And then we say, okay, let's talk about a risk you maybe would have taken then. So for me, a risk I took back then is I had never lived outside the Washington, D.C. area. But I took a risk to apply for jobs outside the area because I wanted to grow and expand. And so we'll use that action to say, okay, well, how can you duplicate that kind of action with what we're going through now? If you're trying to get a new job, have you applied for jobs outside the city? Maybe when you were applying for jobs back then, for me, I sent special packages to really impress the people who I was trying to kind of interview with. Well, let's duplicate that, but in the current era. And then we kind of go through things like that. And that's kind of how you tap into nostalgia and we do it. That's one activity we have. I'm trying to think of another one that would be good.
No, I love that activity. Again, I'm calling time out and saying, I kind of want to jump up and say, and maybe I've always loved music. And I make playlists all the time. I make them on the quarter and I make them for themes. Mm-hmm. So like right now I have one called Aging Parents. And I put songs in there that are either sad or that I hear that day or that are uplifting or celebratory. Right. But I really love the idea, what you said of it taps into the feelings. And if you're working with people and getting them to share that, again, I think I would tell you one of my favorite times probably was in high school. Maybe it was my senior year. I don't know. I mean, I think when you ask the question, I have music at every stage.
Right. And what was a popular song or a song you loved when you were in high school? Because sometimes we'll love older songs. So it doesn't not necessarily have to be the same year it was out. Like you can love a song that was old when you're in high school. We're not going to age you.
Yeah, no. There was a band called New Edition and they had a song called Candy Girl.
Yes. So it's funny you say that song. I should have it here. But that song in my upcoming book, I talk about it because I sat in my room waiting for that song to come on the radio. And I had the chance to record it. I referenced that song in my book. And then you take New Edition. And one of the other things I talk about in one of my frameworks is kind of reinvention. So New Edition is a perfect example of how you can reinvent yourself, whereas they had New Edition, but then from New Edition came Belle Biv DeVoe. And Belle Biv DeVoe had one of the most famous hip hop songs of all time, Poison. Also from New Edition, you have the solo careers of Johnny Gill, Ralph Tresvant, Bobby Brown. Like that is an example I use in my book about reinvention and how reinventing yourself can help you get to the next level. So I didn't even set that up and you said New Edition, Candy Girl, and that's perfect.
Okay, now I'm going to have to because I have not done the lineage of that band, but I'm sure I have the album. And what I remember though about the music is for me, it was the story. It was both the story and the words. And, we would just sing at the top of our lungs, mm-hmm. And it was our warm up thing on basketball, it would play at the beginning. And now actually with my kids with the warm up songs, they wouldn't let them choose the songs and they, and I was like, oh, okay, we're getting complicated on these pieces. In college, and again, this is about you and your use of what you said about taking risks. And I know you teach people, you said how to stand out. Mm-hmm. Is how have you overcome or managed the standing out part with networking and relationships? Because you sort of make it sound very effortlessly and even what you're saying about the book, and we can get to that piece. How do you help people with that of putting themselves out there, going back? There's a freedom. As I said, I wanted to say time out because I wanted to stand up and jump around and be like, okay, Candy Girl, I know all the words. Yes. I might embarrass myself a little bit.
Yes, we can sing along. Okay, so excuse me, in terms of standing out and taking risks, I help people because I'll give them a couple examples. So let's take the example of how I got my professor job, which also feeds into networking. So as I said before, I was on the board for Meeting Professionals International, the Southern California chapter. 1 year, actually 2 years, I was vice president of membership. So we were tasked with working with the local universities to increase our student members. So I went to visit several schools: Cal State University Fullerton, Long Beach, Poly Pomona, University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and then Cal State Northridge, to visit and spread the word about our chapter and get students to join. Because of the fact that I was so collaborative with Fullerton, I helped them out with an additional event. I brought people to the university to speak to the students. That was a way where I stood out, because most speakers just come in and they leave. I came, I stayed all day, I brought guest speakers, I came back to help them with the event. I came to the actual event that we were planning and helped them out. So my effort was helping me stand out. Then in the middle of the summer, July, when the semester starts in August, they send me an email saying, we have an open teaching position. We think that your experience might fit. Do you think you might be interested in being an adjunct professor? And so I had never taught before in the high school or the college level. So I took a risk and I said yes. So because of the fact that I stood out and I networked effectively and kept in touch, I was able to get this opportunity. And then I said yes. And that was 6 years ago. I've grown to teaching now 4 classes there, director of the Center for Entertainment Hospitality Management. Now, that's one way of standing out. When you're applying for a job.
But wait one sec, because I have a question. Because again, I'm just going to tell the listeners, you're making this seem really easy, and again, you're really good at it. But I got to break it apart. I'm going to do the rewind on it. What was the subject they asked you to first be the professor on?
It was called Management 365, Entertainment Money Management. So a part of the class was talking about how hotels earn money and revenue, which was right up my alley. Like I knew that I could go through that. But there was other things about like how the music industry, which I knew a little bit about then, the music industry earned money, was it film? And there was another aspect. So I had to learn on the fly and teach on the fly. Now, of course, the first semester, it was a little tougher because it was like trial by fire. You 16 weeks, these students are looking at you. Most of them are seniors, juniors or seniors, like, who are you to come and teach us? But I got through it the first semester. Then the second semester, they changed the times of my classes. So the first semester, it was 1 to 4 and 4 to 7 on a Tuesday, which was tough. Back to back, no breaks. The next semester was 10 to 1 and then 4 to 7, so I had a break. And that's when I really hit my stride, because I was able to kind of gaming was the other area. And so I was able to kind of re-look at my content, make some changes, bring in some more guest speakers to really engage. And so it was really learning by fire, taking notes, what worked, what didn't work, paying attention to the surveys. That's kind of how I was able to kind of get along. So hopefully that answered that question.
No, well, again, I'm just going to say it's just impressive because you bring it. I mean, partly I'm like, okay, the 7 hours of class, if you can be up and be a DJ late at night, you can do 7 hours with a bunch of seniors in college, right? But also I think what you did is you just surrounded yourself with people also to like figure out. You said you brought in guest speakers, you brought in other people, but you took that risk. That's the part why I say you network so effectively or have advanced your career. It's great. And now you said that you're the head of the center.
Yeah, so I'm a director for the Center for Entertainment and Hospitality Management. So I do that and I teach 4 classes. I even created a class for the university, music business, which took 3 years to get through the system, but I created it because it was a huge need. Where the school is located, which is in like near Disneyland, in Anaheim, like we're in between amusement parks, film. So it's like a mecca for the music industry, and kids want to work in the music industry. So we need to prepare them as best as possible. So I created that class, and then I want to go back to helping people stand out when they're applying for jobs.
Yeah.
And there's kind of 2 or 3 things that I really recommend. The first is try to learn something about the person that you're having your initial interview with. When I was working in hotels, I remember one time I had an interview with a general manager, and he loved his cars. and he had a Porsche Cayenne. Hope I'm saying that right. So he had a Porsche Cayenne. And so if you remember the movie Cars, they had actually a Porsche Cayenne as a character in the movie. So I went to the store and bought a stuffy. I love stuffed animals. So I bought a stuffed Porsche Cayenne that was part of the character and sent a note and said, I'm looking forward to interviewing with you and I can explain more about my love of cars to you. And I know you love cars. I sent that to him and I got the interview. Ended up getting the job. He had the stuffy there with him during the interview. It was cool. That's the one way of standing out. Then once you have the interview, no one does this anymore. All you need to do is send a handwritten thank you note. You can send it by mail. It's best if you drop it off, if you're able to drop it off, like if you're coming in and out of town, mail, drop it off. Just a handwritten thank you note that says thank you for, speaking, reference something you talked about during the interview, drop it off. The fortune is in the follow-up. And many, many people nowadays do not follow up. So that's kind of one example, two examples of stand out. I have another one too, but that's two examples right off the bat of how you can stand out in kind of the interviewing job process.
No, those are great. Those are great examples. Like you said, learning something about the other people, and then the fortune is in the follow-up. And that handwritten note. And again, you said you know social media and you're very, techno savvy. But I still think the handwritten note is about as personal as, when you put your hand on somebody's arm, like it's a gesture that just says, that was meaningful to me. Thank you for the time. Thank you for helping. So I love that advice for people.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, so that's how I kind of help people be creative, stand out, and hopefully we can get the second interview in the job.
Great. So one just kind of question is, I'm bummed. We're going to have you back. You have a lot of great content to share with people, and of course I'm going to make my playlist now related to everything, but. Tell me, what is sort of the thing, what makes somebody able to connect with people in your experience from both either hospitality or your own personal success with building such good relationships? What's the one secret sauce?
So I would say like the secret to connecting with people is, it's very cliche, but of course, just be yourself. Like, for example, in the beginning, when I said I love pancakes, like that's me. Like I tell everyone that I love pancakes. When you remember details, like if someone says, okay, I'm from Minneapolis. Okay, make sure you remember that. Or if they say, oh, I'm from Miami, but now I live in Chicago. You say, oh, okay, well, just remember where people are from. I find that's a good way to kind of stay connected. Try to, LinkedIn's a very good platform to stay connected and root people on and share comments and like what's going on. Also, if you see that interest you, like say for example, we had a discussion and we talked about crepes versus silver dollar pancakes versus pancakes. So if I see an article about crepes or something, I might say, oh, did you see this? I remember we had our conversation. So send them kind of articles or things that remind them of our conversation. I think that's connecting, and just follow up, like, check in every kind of couple months or whatever to say, how's it going? Everything's going on. I think nowadays we get so caught up in the digital era that we forget some of the old methods of calling people or checking in, even an email checking in, saying what's going on. We're both members of National Speakers Association. So say, oh, are you going to Influence, our annual conference that's in Denver? If you are, let's make sure we meet up and take a picture. Little things like that help to you stay connected. And then like what I've seen, particularly staying connected to my students, is LinkedIn's very effective. I bring some of my students back to speak in class after they graduated, which is really cool. Makes me feel a little old, but it's really cool.
No, you're building the pipe. You're building the center. Like I love that. I mean, I get it. I'm the feeling old, but
so those are just some kind of tactics, a little bit of the secret sauce, but it's a work in progress too.
Yeah, no, it's a great tip. It's a great tip. Oh, Amani, this has been awesome to have you on today's show. I really appreciate it. Hope we can have you back on there. And how about one song to end with? What should be our closing song? And then how do people get in touch with you? I know we're going to put some links in the show notes, but if you just want to give a shout out to your website, and then our final song we'll put a link to that song. Okay,
awesome. So for all the listeners, if you go to AmaniExperience.com, my name is A like Apple, M like Mary, A like Apple, N like Nancy, I experience, one word.com/rock paper star. And you drop your email in there. I'll send you a PDF of 7 creative ways to network that I made just for this audience here. And then on my, just go to my website. You connect with me there, AmaniExperience.com. Join my mailing list, and all my socials are mentioned there also. In terms of a final song, my walk-up song would be Paid in Full by Eric B. and Rakim, because we're always, it's important to stick to your worth, your self-worth, both in actual methods where you're getting paid for working, but also your personal self-worth too. I find that's very important. So I like that song to signify both of that.
Oh, excellent. Well, I look forward to playing that song, and thank you so much for being here.
Awesome. It's been a pleasure, Cathy, and I can't wait to meet you sometime in the future in person.
Thanks for listening to the All-Star Networking Show with Cathy Paper. If you're interested in being a guest, please contact Cathy at www.rockpaperstar.com.